Hi everyone. Today I actually wanted to talk about the rising issue of mental health in South Korea. So, first things first, I'm sure I assume that we all know what mental health is, but just on the record. So basically, mental health, according to the American Psychological Association, is a state of mind characterized by emotional well being, good behavioral adjustment, relative freedom from anxiety and disabling symptoms, and a capacity to establish constructive relationships and cope with life's ordinary demands and the stresses of everyday life. So, in other words, our mental health affects every aspect of our life and is extremely, extremely important to be aware of and to care for. So, it's not just our physical well being, our mental health also matters. And, that's something that we tend to forget and, day to day in our daily life. We just stress out, about everything. So, it's a little hard. I actually wanted to get more in depth, with the mental health issue in South Korea. In the past few years, there has been mental health has been a huge problem in South Korea, and suicide rates have risen up to an extreme all-time high. According to the Harvard International Review, in 2017, nearly 1 in 4 individuals suffered from a mental disorder, though only 1 in 10 received treatment, culminating in the country having the highest suicide rate of any OECD member nation. So, almost 40 South Koreans commit suicide every day. It's basically it's saying that nearly 1 in 4 of in a group actually suffer from a mental health issue, but 1 out of the 10 actually go to seek help. And even though like suicide rates are going through the roof, um, and we're just trying to figure out what exactly could be the cause. Basically, 95% of South Koreans report being stressed, with staggering rates of depression actually among the elderly. The result is it's a national epidemic that actually has gotten even worse in the past 20 years. When we actually look at certain causes of, why there's such an alarming rate of high suicide rates and what could be causing such mental health problems in South Korea, it's actually honestly safe to assume that one of the major factors behind South Korea having the highest suicide rate could be just the competitive culture around work, education, family, and life. Um, there's a high amount of pressure. There's a pressure amongst your peers, your environment, society. So it's really tough. Kids are encouraged, actually, more than encouraged. They're expected to to study really hard and do well and get good grades. But parents also do their best. They work long hours to make sure that their child, has the best of the best, has, the proper food, the right clothes, so they could have a comfortable environment, so they could fit in amongst their peers while studying so hard. Um, and it's really tough. So there's also like there's a certain social standards to get by. You there's competition everywhere. You're competing with your neighbor. You're competing with your boss at work. There's a lot of competition. Like I said, South Korea's workforce is extremely competitive with most kids having studying so hard and having been stressed so much. Like most kids actually know like at least 2 languages, because these kids are so well educated, and each like all everyone, they're very families are very focused on their children's education. Almost everyone is highly qualified, so it's really hard finding a job. Everyone is connected. It's the rich and the poor don't mix together. So unless you have like outstanding qualifications, and you're honestly just doomed to start with if you're not well off, or your family's not well off. It really does matter who your family is, what your parents do, what school you went to, or who you know throughout your entire life, from school, getting into the right school, getting to the right jobs, and even um, finding apartment locations and housing. It really is the it's the society is it's really divided based on your income. Back then, I guess it was state a status, but now with the South Korea being so modern, it's most likely based on your income, which is actually really upsetting because South Korea's unemployment rate is 3 times higher than the national average. So most of these kids that are graduating, they're studying so hard, they're so pressured by their family, their parents have worked so hard to get them to the position they are. They're facing like outstanding pressure. They're facing pressure to fit in with their friends. Each one is getting into like a different workforce, or they're getting hired. Their parents' expectations, and then the parents are more worried about their family members, and of there's a lot um, behind just the general life as a Korean. But it's really hard, and there is a lot of pressure by society itself on everyone. So it's it's actually hard not to succumb to social, due to the social pressure. It's hard not to be depressed. It's absolutely, I can understand why the suicide rates, depression is so up there, and which just makes me go into my next topic. This could actually be one of the reasons why many people are not seeking treatment, seeking help. As I previously mentioned, there are a few barriers, between people actually going to seek help when it comes to, having mental issues, or being depressed, or just simply having social anxiety. One of the major reasons why many are not seeking help is that there's a stigma against mental health in South Korea. If you are seeking help and if you're on medication, that means that like you're somehow automatically crazy, and it's not much as like let's not put it down as saying like the younger generations. So I suppose it's looked more down upon when it comes to the older generation. They believe that that's it. Life is hard. You're supposed to tough it out, deal with it. It is what it is. Look what we had to deal with, and here we are. There's a lot of negativity, and there's a lot of concerns about medication. Substance abuse. And there's also issues regarding fees and healthcare. It's because it's people don't seek help, and it's not a very common thing to go in for. There's not a lot of healthcare coverage, and it's honestly hard to find someone that's a professional or Medicare, medical attention. um, Also, many people are actually afraid of that it could have a permanent stain. Like it could be on their medical record, and it could have a permanent stain. And so that could cause an issue when they're like, if they're trying to work within the government, if they're seeking a job, or just in general with insurance. As I said, have any kind of mental health is it's really really looked down upon in Korea. It's taboo. I also wanted to get a little more in touch with mental health within the Korean entertainment industry, because um, in the past few years, I've noticed a lot of issues with social issues, regarding these idols and just the hardships that they go through every single day. It's really hard to be in their position. Um, so I mean, let's be honest. South Koreans can be a little judgmental, and I mean, not only South Koreans, but almost all Asians are um, coming from, I'm Afghan, I'm Asian, so coming from someone within this culture, very, very judgmental. So it can, you can only understand that to be an idol in the South Korean industry, there are certain standards and rules to follow. You have to hold a certain image, um, and these poor idols, these they train before debuting and making it big. These trainees train vigorously, day and night, and they usually, are living in terrible living situations, and they have like a really hard time, trying to do their best so they can somehow gain some attention or some traction, so they could make it big, to fit the thin and pale beauty standard. They need to constantly diet and watch their every step on and off screen, so they have to be super aware of what they're saying, what they're doing, what they're eating, um, and because of this whole judgmental aspect, there is a lot of negativity, within social media, within the Korean society itself, regarding, body image issues. So these celebrities are dealing with a lot of they're exhausted. They're dealing with a lot of stress, and the whole idea between, the K-pop or Korean drama, just the entertainment industry in general, is to have like to fit like every girl or guy's perfect version of a boyfriend girlfriend role, so they're technically banned from dating. They're not supposed to, they're because they're every girl's or guy's image, girlfriend or boyfriend. They're not allowed to date, and they cannot be seen in public. And if they are in caught, which in many situations, this has happened, there's they get into scandals, and it really, really affects them negatively. Their sponsors can be pulled, so it's really tough. Cyberbullying is a huge, huge issue. Just, teenagers, their societies. I mean, everyone is online in Korea. It's a very technologically advanced country by now. So it's uh, everyone's online, and it's created so many problems that they had to create actual laws and policies to protect victims. And these idols are constantly scrutinized by the media and their fans and their record companies, so their signing labels. They basically they solely rely on their company to, based off like what that whatever amount that they receive, for food, for everything. That's basically their entire career is riding off of their company, who in turn only care about sponsors. So if there's like their careers are always hanging by a thread, they're solely dependent. And so if there's ever a scandal or any situation that comes up and their image is damaged, and they get harassed by the media, they get bullied by their own fans, and their companies could, um, well, their sponsors could pull out their contracts with it, which in turn, basically, the companies could just sign them off the record. So it's really tough for them, and there's a lot riding on how well they maintain their image. So they're they have a really, really hard time. and it's caused a lot of problems. And unfortunately, these issues now recently are progressing. People are spreading more awareness, but a few lives had to be lost just for this to happen. Although, well, in recent times, Korea has progressed a lot when it comes to mental health, such as um, members from an idol group, Mina and Jonghyun, they took a break during the 2009 and 2010 for anxiety because they knew that they were being overwhelmed, and so they actually took a mental health break, which prior to recent, um, it was not normal, and it would have probably not been possible. And the same thing happened to Daniel Kang, who took a break in 2019 for panic disorder. But that is recent times, and that is mainly, unfortunately, due to um, these idols, getting bullied and having so many issues that they unfortunately ended up taking their own life. Um, I'm not going to list all of them, but there are, there's Uni Lee Leon Ju, who was actually one of the first actresses to take her own life in 2005. Sully, who was actually really famous and well loved. I grew up watching her shows and her on screen. And honestly, the most recent is the John Mi Son and Jong Hyun of SM Entertainment, who took their own lives in 2019. So may they rest in peace. And if there is a next life, I hope that they achieve the happiness that they really wanted in this life. I would like to note though that there are being certain steps taken now, in regards to mental health in South Korea. Although it's seen as taboo due to recent generations speaking up, things are slowly but surely looking up for South Korea. Besides the taboo about mental health, many people fear that it could stain their record. It could affect their insurance. It could affect them from getting jobs. Insurance costs are an issue, and the lack of healthcare services could be a huge roadblock on the path to creating a healthier and happier country. But I do think that creating investments and reforming the mental health care system is a very vital first step into trying to move forward. Forward, and as most of these services now are only provided by nonprofit organizations, creating a change could be really hard to do without the government being involved. So I really, really think that it's important for the South Korean government to uh, get more involved and try to raise funds and at least invest or support or create some sort of programs to educate the public about mental health and how it's not a bad thing that you're going through certain things. Life is stressful, and mental health is normal. Just like you um, get a cut or you sprain your ankle, you can affect, you can be too stressed that it could affect your mental health. That doesn't mean that you're absolutely crazy. um yeah. But on a lighter note, there here I'd like to recommend a few Korean shows about mental health, to just in general celebrate Mental Health Awareness Month. So now more than ever, people are trying to raise more awareness about certain social issues in Korea. Here are a few examples of movies and TV shows. It's okay to not be okay. It's a fantastic TV show. It's on Netflix. This quote: "The one who neglects and turns a blind eye to the abuse is worse than the abusers." This quote is absolutely beautiful. I really like this quote, and it's actually from "It's Okay Not to Be Okay." Um, there is another TV show, Hi Jekyll and Me, which is basically about this rich CEO having multiple personality disorders. And Kill Me and Heal Me, it's also on Netflix. That one is absolutely amazing. It's also about split personality disorders, and you're gonna laugh, you're gonna cry. It's a very warm-hearted and great show. Sky Castle, I personally have not watched it, but I have heard a lot about it, and it's slightly exaggerated, but a really great representation of what money, just the chaebol idea, the industry, what money and how Sue's what there's a lot of social issues that are being brought into perspective in this show, and I really recommend you watching it if you do have the time. Flowers of Evil, it's actually about I think it's about a sociopathy. Yeah, I think it's about a sociopath serial killer. And Flower Boy Next Door, it's on Amazon. It's about a girl who has social anxiety disorder, and she has a hard time just leaving her apartment. And Uriya Joshi, which is My Mister, it's a slightly dramatic and intense TV show about this girl becoming obsessed with this slightly older gentleman. But I mean, I really didn't like it, but it is a great representation. So these all can either be found on Viki or Netflix or Amazon. So any of them, you should they're highly recommended, and you should definitely watch. So yeah. So we have reached the end. I just want to thank you guys for listening to my presentation, and listening to me speak about this mental health in Korea, which is something that I'm very passionate about. I really, really hope that one day, we see much more improvement, and one day, things turn for the better. So thank you guys so much, and happy Mental Health Awareness Month.